Whenever we look at rationalizing expressions or simplifying fractions with square roots, we're looking at rationalizing the denominator because we don't want to end up with something with a square root in the denominator. To fix this problem, we then multiply the top and bottom by the radical that's in the denominator. This gives me the square root of b times the square root of b, which is just itself b, and then the top becomes a root b. It doesn't get rid of the radical altogether, but it is in a simplified proper form. So we're going to do that with some fractions down below. We see the same idea with 1 over root 2. So let's start with 1 over root 7. I multiply the top and the bottom by root 7. This gives me square root of 7 over what is actually the square root of 49, which works out to just be 7. So we leave this as square root of 7 over 7. Some of us start to see that as a pattern of you're just moving up the radical and making this the number on the bottom, and that works most of the time. You just got to be careful for when things get a little more complex. 5 root 13, multiply the top and the bottom by the square root of 13. We get 5 root 13 over 13. Now when we make it square root of 18 over square root of 2, I can actually reduce this. This is the square root of 9 times 2 over the square root of 2. So this leaves me with the square root of 9. So it's like dividing when they're both in a radical. And we can do that, and the square root of 9 turned out to be 3. We could do this again with the square root of 15 times the square root of 12. 15 is 5 times 3. 12 is 4 times 3. This becomes the square root of 5 over the square root of 4, which we start to think, do we have to rationalize the denominator? Not really, because the square root of 4 is 2, and your answer then is square root of 5 over 2. What if we then had square root of 25 over 15? 25 is 5, and then the square root of 15 on the bottom. This case, we do need to rationalize. Multiply top and bottom by root 15, and we get 5 root 15, and the bottom is 15. We're not done yet, though. We need to keep simplifying because 5 and 15 are both rational numbers. They do reduce. We can divide them both by 5, and we get root 15 over 3. For the square root of 2/5, that's going to be the same thing as the square root of 2 over the square root of 5. I'm going to multiply the top and the bottom by the square root of 5. And this gives me the square root of 10 over 5 on the bottom, which can't simplify anymore. This is irrational, this is rational. We'll leave it as that. Square root of 36 over 7 is going to be the square root of 36 over the square root of 7. 36 comes out to be 6. So here, I'm then going to multiply the top and the bottom by root 7. And our answer comes out to be 6 root 7 over 7. For our last one here, square root of 15 over 10, this is 5 times 3 over square root of 5 times 2. So we then have the square root of 3 over the square root of 2, multiply the top and the bottom by root 2, and I then get the square root of 6 over 2 as my answer.